All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Anissa Avon, and I am very thankful to be here today with Özlem Seriglu. And Digital Coaching Through a Crisis is our conversation today. I know that you folks are just joining us, so we're going to get started pretty quick. We've got a lot to cover, and we want to make this very meaningful for you. As you're joining us, please do consider how we can make our conversation today meaningful and relevant for you. Özlem and I really put our heads together about what would be timely during this time of crisis around coaching. And so we're going to be looking to you to provide us some feedback and to give us some ideas about, what's going on in your world and with your company in order to make our time together relevant and valuable for you. So we're going to jump right on into it, even though I know some folks are still coming on. I want to say thank you to our sponsors. The Whitmarsh Consulting Group. I want to say thank you to David Whitmarsh and his team at the Whitmarsh Consulting Group. David and his group are specialists in multi-channel marketing as well as human resources information technology consulting. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Insperity. Insperity is HR that makes a difference. Insperity is offering all of our attendees a free HR financial analysis report and debrief, which is kind of a big deal. It's 3 to 10 hours of analysis, and I know that a lot of our HR friends are having their budgets as well as their plans for this year completely thrown out the window, and so Insperity is here to help with that, whether or not you are a good fit for them as a client or not. This is something that they've offered as a no obligation freebie. You can see on the bottom there of the screen, there's the link, turnkeycoachingsolutions.net/HR report, and HR and R is capitalized. The other thing that we're going to mention a little bit later, not right now, but I did want to let you guys know that Özlem and Turnkey and Sparkus, we've put together a pretty phenomenal package. Unfortunately, we know that many of our clients are going through forced layoffs and furloughs and et cetera, and that coaching is not typically the first thing on your mind when it comes to these kind of situations, and mostly that's because of the prohibitive costs of coaching. And what we know about this situation is in times during layoffs, just a little bit of help in helping your employees find other employment or get through can actually reduce the likelihood of litigation and the likelihood of loss of engagement with your retained employees pretty significantly. So we couldn't put together a free offer because we know that doesn't hold a lot of value, but we put together the next best thing is name your own price. So this is not a pitch fest. Do reach out if I can share with you a little bit more about those details. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and then the summit. I'm going to get right started and introduce you, Özlem. Turnkey Coaching Solutions is my company. I'm the CEO. We do executive coaching, leadership development, and enterprise learning and development solutions. And when I went to my team and I said, well, we can just watch what's happening or we can support our clients. How do we do that? And immediately the idea came about, well, we happen to have a lot of experts on our team. How can we put together something that is relevant and timely for our clients? And the idea for a leading in a crisis, actionable business and HR strategies and solutions for navigating crisis and chaos and change came about. And in a matter of about 2 days, we had more than 40 speakers. Right now, we only have about 20 of those speakers live on the site and another 20 that are coming on in the next couple of days. We will be providing free webinars that you're welcome to share with your team. We have a client who said, I've got 200 members of my management team. May I share this with them? And we said, absolutely. If the system gets overrun, we'll figure out another way, not to fear. But we are adding new speakers all the time, and it is every Wednesday and Thursday throughout the month of April. We look to your feedback to tell us what topics have we not covered or that you would like a deeper dive on. So do send me some feedback. We're monitoring leader at turnkeycoachingsolutions.com, and my team or I will get back in touch if we may be of support. So I have only known Özlem for maybe 5-6 months now, but what I can tell you is that her commitment to the craft of coaching is truly admirable. Her and her team have put together a digital platform called Sparkus that Turnkey has formed a partnership with, that is doing something that I've wanted to do all along, which is take the benefits of coaching deeper into organizations. And we've always struggled with that because, you know, one-on-one high touch support is cost prohibitive. And so Özlem is going to tell us a little bit about that in a later in today. But she is the author of World Voices in a Polarized World. She is a recognized leader in the International Coach Federation with the ICF Young Leader Award, one of 6 people to carry the coaching profession into the future. Tell us about you, what makes you the expert, and what we're going to learn today.
Okay, great. Thank you for the introduction. And by the way, all the other offers seem really, really exciting. To start with, I'm a coach who started coaching in a very young age. I started coaching when I was 28. I already had a business background for 8 years, but it was all of a sudden I find myself in the profession, changing professions, but still being very young. And that was exactly my question, like, how do we bring coaching to more people in the organizations? Because it's not only the top management, it's everybody needs it. And how do we bring it to more people without, like you said, compromising that very human touch? And the idea of Sparkus actually started from there. I have a business partner, you already know him, Danny, he's a designer. And we sat down and started, like, what do we design? And he came up with the idea of, why don't we do this digitally on the online? And I was like, and we're not talking about online like this, like a Zoom session or something. Like, he was talking about transferring some part of the coaching process to the digital. And as a coach, I said, like, no, this is such a human-to-human process. You cannot have it. But I was okay to try it out. We started trying it out. We originally started working for university students to define their careers, actually. And we had 30,000 subscribers who went through the digital process. And it was, well, it just convinced me, let's say, that you cannot take out the human element. It has to be there, that's for sure. But there are certain parts of the coaching process that you can standardize for everyone. A kind of a common themes are there for people who are going through similar issues. So those common themes are very much possible to transfer into the digital. And having said that, what we're going to talk about today, nowadays, all the leaders are going through the same crisis. So what we designed for this period is basically to find out a way to help the leaders basically in this period.
Exactly.
Yeah, and probably that's what you've been talking about for these last few days already.
Right. Everything's changed. The game has changed. Our leadership style has to change.
Yes.
Our strategic thinking and foresight has to change. And one of the things that I am excited that you're going to bring to us today is coaching cannot go out the window just because I'm busy. And yet coaching as a skill for leaders is not something that comes natural for most of us. And so I'm appreciative that you're bringing your expertise about the little things that we can do to still bring a coach approach to our management style and to our self-care style during this time.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we're going to talk about that in detail, but I should say for those who are listening to us that I don't consider coaching as just a personal development tool. I consider it as a mindset. So if you're just talking about the tool, yes, it's the HR's business most of the time. But if you look at it as a growth mindset, as a way of like, how do I dance in this unknown zone? So those are all coaching styles, coaching skills and mindsets. So that's exactly what we're going to bring now. And like you said, the game has changed. And the most important thing is the game has changed while the game is on. Well, we all did some, goals and everything for this year. And before we reached the end of the Q1, all of them became obsolete. And now we need to redefine the game. And what's more important, if you can just click on that slide, I actually had another line there. So what really changed is all the team members, all the players were sent home, including the leader. So even though I change the rules of the game while the game is going on, I cannot reach to my people immediately and say, okay, this is what we're doing now. So there is another skill set is required on that level as well. So there are a few challenges that the leaders are going through, and they are basically threefold. One is the very basic human needs. We are going through survival. So one level is readjusting ourselves. If you go back to our previous experience about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we both have the needs on the survival level to wash our hands, not try to stay healthy, but at the same time, we also have the need on the top. We're still trying to do the self-actualization. We're still trying to run the game. So there are lots of layers going on inside of us. And having said that, the second one is, of course, looking at my business and redefining what needs to change, to thinking like, okay, so this still needs to happen. This part we keep, this part we throw out, and this part we avoid. So those are the three levels that I have to rediscover my goals and everything. And then once I've done that, then I have to go back to the team, realign them to the new goals, who are actually just a virtual group of people basically at the moment. Yeah. So there are three levels of challenges that are facing the leaders right now. And this is relevant for all leaders, whether you're running just a team, whether you're running a whole business, whether you're an entrepreneur, it really doesn't matter. If you're leading any team of any magnitude, these are the three challenges you're facing.
Yeah, I think that that's really fair. And I think that there are times when we're not in crisis that one of these areas may become a bigger priority. And as I'm thinking about this in regards to the challenges that we're all collectively facing, is each of these have an equal weight in regards to our experience right now. There is none of us, as you mentioned, that doesn't have to adjust my own personal self-care and our own needs and my family needs and even my emotional well-being in response to this. There's none of us that are not having to redefine and readjust our business goals. And if we're good leaders, we are paying attention to aligning our team and giving our team the support they need as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And they, like you're saying, they're all simultaneously happening. There has been a very recent research. There has been a very pulse check with 800 decision makers. So I wanted to bring this to you to show that this is happening all over the world. So enterprises are all of them expecting major disruption. More than half said we are expecting it. And some of them said we're already facing it. And it's also important that 62% said that there has already been a downfall in the performance. And the other thing is there are changes of policies and strategies, again, relevant for everyone. Obviously, there is the virtual office for almost of 75% of companies, travel bans, and everything. But there are also delays in, new services, new products being out there, and or other efforts of hiring. They're just, on hold. So there are lots of things to think about in terms of the strategy. And we expect that the organizations are going to invest in more in technology. But if you're talking about the technology, most of the time, this generally is not the main key, but this time it is the main. We need to do something about employee communication and collaboration. It's almost half of them say that they're going to make some investments there. But unlike other devices, it's not like buying a computer, it involves human. So it means that we have to consider both the technology and the human element, the emotions of the people, usability of it, everything. So it has to be like, I was recently telling you this, I like your description. It has to be both high technology, high tech, and both high touch.
Yes.
So it has to cover them both.
Yeah.
This is what the organizations are facing right now.
This earlier today, I was talking with Licia Maples, who is a neuroleadership expert. And one of the studies that she brought forth was that the studies show that any change in an organization can reduce an employee's engagement by as much as 30%.
Wow.
That was one change. So I am not, it's disheartening, but I'm not surprised that organizations, even within a matter of weeks, are seeing 62% have already experienced a fall in employee productivity. Well, hello. Yeah, we're going to continue to see that right now. And so organizations, even that are stable, are going to have to implement mechanisms to address, there's nothing we can do. There are things we can't control. Change is upon us. Crisis is upon many of us. And there are effective ways and ineffective ways right now to support our employees' performance and our businesses' performance.
Yeah, definitely. Very good point. Very relevant point, actually. And I think we've been talking about the future of work, that digitalization is here, change is a constant, crisis is a constant. We have been talking about that, but it was easier to avoid.
Yeah.
Now it's on our doorstep. We cannot avoid it.
No longer avoidable.
No. So when we're looking at all those challenges, I can count 5 leadership skills that are needed right now. One is, obviously, it starts with us. First, I need to manage my emotions. And it is not like the typical, know yourself type of level. It's like I have to manage my vulnerability, my going through this grief, basically, that like we're going through the stages of grief, all of us. So first, I need to really embrace myself, really need to take care of my needs. And maybe then my family's needs as well, but like my needs, basically, so that I can handle this all. The other is, of course, I need flexibility. I need to be, redesign everything once again. And more importantly, the third one is actually, I need to manage the unknown, because even though I be flexible and do a redesign, that would also change. I mean, look at what happened since this crisis first started. I personally have gone through many stages in these past few weeks, and everything is changing constantly. And I cannot really keep track of the days because it's just like this happening. So what I have to do is to design a roadmap, but be open to revisit it, open to throw it out, redo it, and also be open to tell my people, but actually this is how much I know. This is the best I can do right now. The rest, we're going to figure it out along the way together.
Yeah. And some of us are more comfortable with change anyway, and some of us are extremely uncomfortable with change. And we may not have time today to get into that, but part of the magic of coaching is the ability to meet people at the level at which they are, without judgment, and knowing when a person doesn't cope with change as it is, and then knowing that potentially their response to change is going to be significantly more volatile and difficult and challenging than those folks who are more natural, go with the flow, for example.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And I would just add one more thing to that. In terms of the coaching, I think it's also important. Coaching also helps as a coach when I'm coaching someone, but also as I'm receiving coaching. You come into the coaching session with the unknown. You just don't know where the conversation is going to go. And so if you can stay there and see the beauty of going through the unknown and finding out something even more beautiful than you would expect with your rational mind, then it gives you the trust to stay with the unknown as well. So I think coaching also helps to give coaching and to receive coaching to develop that skill. And inclusion and engagement. I mean, we've been talking about diversity and inclusion all the time. It was already here, but I think it is even much more important now to include everyone on every level, because I can be a very good communicator. I can be a very good networker, so I can just know what's happening in my organization. Not anymore. I'm just sitting at home. So,
Yes.
so I have to include other people. I have to ask their opinion. I have to see what's happening on their side of the world. I need that. It's kind of my given, basically. And yes, of course, coaching. It's like for all of them to be in place, I need to coach my people, and I need to receive coaching. So it's for leaders, it's on both levels. I need to receive it to be able to handle all those, but also I need to coach my people as a skill set and also as a mindset. I have to use my coaching hat to look at the work from a distance, not getting involved in emotions and stuff, but also I need to go out to my people, coach them, because they will go through emotions, probably much worse.
Yes.
So yeah. So this is another survey. It is how to actually to link what we've been talking about with coaching. This is a survey that was done in 2017 by the ICF, globally over in 30 countries. And some of the things that said, like, what are the results of coaching? What did you receive out of it? Are very much related to what we've been talking about. The first top thing is communication skills, which is definitely the core thing at the moment to handle all these things. It increases productivity, which has been on the downfall previously when we were talking about it. For the team performance, it is there to help. And I think we didn't speak about it, but I hear it again and again from many people that now with this new normal, our work-life balance is just shaky. We're all working and living at the same time, at the very exact same time. Like yesterday, a friend was saying, like, I'm just running from, just to get a coffee, like I would do in the office, to the kitchen. And on the way, I'm becoming mom, and then I'm becoming their teacher. They're asking something. On the way, I'm just, saying something to my husband, and then coming back. And in those, 5 minutes while you're out there grabbing coffee, you play all the other life roles that you
Yes.
have. And so it, just turns the balance upside down. So those are the things we need at the moment to readjust ourselves. So having all these in mind, we designed the leadership program that we speak about, that you started sharing at the beginning of the conversation. So we sat down and think about, like, what can we give to leaders now that they're going through this process? We said that first they need a safe space to think about all the things that are happening, think about themselves, think about their work, take things out of their chest. And this is where they're going to, calm down, look at things from a distance. So this is the main starting point. The second one is we said that we need to give them a support group. So we designed the whole process, starting with and ending with 2 group coaching sessions. So those are obviously held online over, Zoom or something like that. So it would be not physically together, but emotionally together. So people, like-minded people, will come together on regular basis to share what they found out. But we also said, still, we need an individual space. We need a navigation tool, because although we know how to do, to set goals, to dive them into actions and stuff, in these times of crisis, we really need something to guide us. And it cannot be ready-made answers, but it can be a navigation tool, just like a car navigation, because we all know where we're heading, where we want to go at the end of the year, for instance. Maybe those also change, but at least we have a kind of a vision of where we want to lead. But we've been on the road, and hey, there is a traffic jam, or there's some kind of a crash in the road. So I need to refine my route. That's why I need the navigation tool. So the platform I'm going to talk about is designed like that. And we also said this navigation tool should also be a living roadmap, because even though I can put things down and say, like, this is my goal, this is how I'm going to speak to the team, this is what I'm going to do. As I said, things are changing very quick. So I have to have an access to all those work that I've done, go back to them, revise them if possible, and continue revisiting them and changing things on that end. And of course, finally, we need to involve the team and also get the support of others, like senior coaches, basically. So the program we designed in a very short period, like you've started this virtual summit, very similar. We just reached out to people and said, in our team, like, okay, let's design something. Like, how many sessions shall we have? What kind of a roadmap would that be? So those were all out there. This is how we designed it.
One of the things that I'd like to pause for a moment and is talk about how HR can think in terms of leveraging coaching through, whether it's through the platform that we're introducing today or on their own. The safe space that you shared, the pieces that you shared that were specifically about best practices right now. How might, there's so many more things on our friends' plates, on our peers' plates, on HR's plates, on leaders' plates, things including how we're going to survive. What do I do about the employees that I'm having to lay off? And frankly, some folks are, well, let's just say it. We know that the suicide rates are even up. So let's talk a moment about how an organization can pause and just use the principles of coaching in their organization, and yet they don't have the bandwidth to do this. So how might someone coach via email or coach via, a hangout session or something that allows them to reach more and use the coach approach during this time right now?
The very basic I would start with, actually, I think the core skill set of coaching is listening. So it's effective listening. So if you're just starting your weekly calls with your team, just asking how they are and really listening to them, that's the very basic starting point. And in terms of what has been very trendy, let's say, but I think very needed right now, is also peer support, peer coaching. So reaching out to your peers and doing, not necessarily, it can be one-on-one, but it can also be assigning, like, for peers to have some sharing groups among themselves. that can also be something totally costless.
Yeah.
And it can be just starting with a personal initiative. So those are the learning from the what I would say the common mind.
Yeah.
Also, like both sharing and also learning from others what they've done, what worked, what didn't work. So those are the very basic two things that every organization can just immediately put in place.
How do you establish a safe place in a situation like that? So let's say, you're in HR and you know that your folks need coaching now more than ever. And ideally you want to set up some immediate parameters or methodologies to implement something, to listen, and then to also make sure that it's a coach approach. It's not just
Exactly.
a way for management to go, yeah, we're listening, but let me tell you how you guys need to feel.
Exactly. Sure. So it doesn't, like you said, it has to be non-judgmental, and it has to be I think the main thing is for the leaders to set aside, to leave behind that old paradigm that I have to know, I have to have the answers. I have to give an answer to this back. So like if somebody's, unhappy about something, I need to protect my kind of the situation. So just leave them aside is one of the things. But also introducing the coach mindset, not only to leaders, but also to the people. When it's very easy under these circumstances to fall into the victim mode.
Yeah.
So telling them like you can do it, using that encouragement function of coaching is also very important. Telling people that, okay, so this is the situation, let's look forward. That approach is also, coaching is all about looking forward. Yeah. So although not ignoring what is, those two things.
Yeah. You and I know that there's a style of individual who is overly optimistic. Let's not face the past. Let's just, and obviously that this is not a time
that doesn't work as well.
It won't work, but we can use a coach approach to redirect ourselves.
Exactly.
We can use a coach approach to acknowledge what is without ruminating on the things we cannot change, the things that we have to accept as they are. And we can support our managers in understanding that there are certain ways in which we can push our people in the wrong direction by not attending to their needs, and certain ways that we can use a coach approach to be more effective. Tell me your thoughts about that, but also about confidentiality in coaching.
Yeah.
How does that work when internally you want an internal coach or a manager to be more coach-like?
I think that's the key thing, actually. So, of course, when the manager is coaching, it's a little bit tricky. Even though if they just keep it confidential, there is always this little question mark about what if it has an effect on my performance review. So the coach manager as the coach has to keep that, assure that again and again that this is between us. I'm not going to use this against you. Just share it so that we can get over it.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing for the manager. But if you're talking about peer coaching, if you're talking about, a real internal coach, of course, then there are more structured ways. You can just set it from the very beginning, saying that, okay, this is our contract. Basically, all those relationships start with a contract.
Yeah.
The manager relationship is a little bit more blurred, but all the others start with a contract saying that this is confidential. And one of the main things that I keep on telling when I'm giving trainings in organizations, whether it's a mentoring training, whether it's the manager as a coach training, I always underline that the confidentiality agreement is not between the coach and the coachee only, but it is a responsibility to the whole organization, because if even one pair doesn't obey it, the whole system fails. So, you're not taking that responsibility on your shoulders just for the other person, but you're taking it for the whole organization. So I keep on telling that. So that's
really important.
That's one of the main things. Yeah.
That's really important. The challenge with manager direct report coaching is always going to be built on initially whether or not that manager has the trust of the individual that they're
Yeah.
coaching. And I don't know that this is the time to suddenly expect someone to trust a manager that they never trusted before.
Yeah.
How might HR implement a peer-to-peer coaching program or use digital coaching to support that methodology?
That's a good point. I can talk about that digital coaching part a little bit more, but what we're doing at the moment on the platform, when we're talking about digital coaching, to clarify for the others that are listening to us, we're not talking about having a Zoom session.
Yeah.
So that's what I would call an online coaching session, basically.
I'm going to share my screen again.
Yeah, so that I can show you what
The structure.
You can move that maybe a few. Then I'll come back to this. I'm going to show you what a digital coaching platform looks like. Just
Okay,
2 sessions.
so
No,
not
2
here.
sessions. Two slides or something later probably. Go ahead, and should be this. Yeah. So this one, yeah. This is our digital coaching platform. And on the platform, there are certain steps that you can fill out, basically like a coaching session. If you just move a few, just one more, I'm going to show you. Like, for instance, for people to design a future, we can show them photos to select and choose from, because the research on the mind has proven that there is one part of our brain that can think very in a strict line, let's say, by writing words, and there is another part that actually works with other materials, visual images and stuff. So those kind of exercises we can give on the platform. Or if you just move one more, we can give them areas where people can write things down, like work, business goals and everything, to calm down and, think about what's my success criteria in this, what are the actions I'm going to take, etc. But what we're doing when we're talking about how can we maintain confidentiality, this is running on a totally independent server. So people are writing things down here, and they have the potential, they have the authority actually to select and choose what to share with whom. So the platform can help people to write things down, to get them out of their chest, to collect their minds, especially in this time of a crisis where a lot of things are happening in my mind. I need some time to sit down and think about a kind of a roadmap for myself. But it can be just for me. If I don't feel like sharing with anybody else, or if I don't trust my manager, I don't need to share it with my manager. If I trust another friend, I can just bring it to a friend and share it with them. If I trust my coach, this is it. This is the report that they create after everything they've done. And these include, exclude buttons. They can just exclude anything they like and include anything they like, and then share it with the relevant person. So if I just want only my business goals to be seen by my manager and I want to discuss just that, I can just create a report based on that, and I just bring that to my manager to have a coaching conversation. But if I want to talk also about how I'm feeling in this moment of crisis, what I'm, struggling with, and I don't trust my manager, but I trust this other person, for instance, a mentor in the organization or a peer or my internal coach, then I can take that with the parts that I can feel more easy to share, and then I can bring out another report, share it with other people. So this is how the digital can help people, to help organizations.
So tell me a little bit about, like right now, we were just on the phone with the CEO or on a webinar with Vivek Mehta at Weave. And we talked about etiquette, and survey etiquette. And my first instinct around a digital coaching platform during this time would be, it might be perceived as impersonal, or it might be an inappropriate time to suggest, hey, you've got these big goals, we want to help you. What's the frame with which this could be scalable, because that's what we're talking about here. How do you support your employees through a time of crisis when we're all being asked to do more with less? Less
Yeah.
people, less resources, less funds, less time and attention.
And more, yes, exactly. Much more fast. That's also the thing.
Yeah, speed.
Coaching sometimes takes much longer,
Exactly.
So first of all, the platform is not designed to say like, okay, write down your goals at the moment. We just, the beauty of the platform, it's very flexible. So we redesigned all those steps to fit the Corona days. So we wrote down all the, I would say, compassionate words that you can think about in this period. We made disclaimers also, for instance, for the photos, saying like, okay, so these people are hugging, but don't consider them physically hugging at the moment.
Right.
But the other part is really like, we also integrated questions like, who can support you in this process? Like, you're going through a lot. Who can support you? And the other question is, how can you support yourself?
Mm-hmm.
We kept on saying, which I personally believe, that you're just driving on a misty road. Just write down what you can do, what is foreseeable in the very near future. So those are the things we kept on saying there. So that's the, as I said, the beauty of having a digital area where you can adapt to the content, adapt to the context, and speak to everyone the same compassionate language, saying like, it's okay. We know that what you're going through, everybody's going through the same thing.
And that's where the etiquette comes in. We're not talking about supporting a coaching program that is really about our big goals and our career development and where we're going to be in 5 years with the organization. We're talking about using technology to deal with the situation at hand, using a coach approach.
Exactly. So one level is, that's why we start with a group coaching session first, to really bring out all the issues.
Share with people
yesterday,
the model,
the process, the structure would be good.
And one of the things that I want folks to know is, even if the platform and what we're talking about isn't a good fit, that's not why we're talking about it. We're talking about it as a methodology for supporting your teams. And whether you use the technology that we're sharing with you or not, just the concept around scaling a coach approach to deal with this crisis is what I'm hopeful that folks can take away.
Yes, exactly. So what we started today, I mean, we've been running this in 5 languages, by the way, and some of the groups already started. So what I'm bringing is not just a design, but also something that we're at the moment experiencing. So in the very first group coaching call, what we basically did was we just left aside all the other parts and we just discussed how we're dealing with it. What are the challenges that we're facing right now for this moment? And at the end of the call, while people were leaving, of course, there were other challenges. Some people had children, they had that issue. One of the people had to breastfeed, for instance, in the call. So there are people that have very small children. There are people who have school kids who they need to be part-time teachers in the day. So there are lots of different personal challenges. But what's happening at the very end is all of us are feeling an imbalance in work life, for instance, quite some business pressure to redesign everything.
Yes.
And also the pressure, feeling that I have to take care of my team members' well-being as well. So all those things were very similar. And at the end of the call, we already shared things like, oh, I just recognize that I'm not alone. Like everybody from all other countries. So it was like many countries were there. And everybody was like, okay, so I'm not alone. So everybody's living the same thing. So that's even very positive at the moment, because we're all alone in the house at the same time. So it feels like I'm just the only one who's living through this. So that's why we started with, sorry.
No, that's a good. So leveraging
Yeah.
the power of coaching
Yeah.
in a confidential group session.
Yes.
If nothing else, it's communicating to your retained employees that what's going on for you matters, and we may not be able to personally meet with each of you to hear what's going on, but we still care, and your well-being matters to us.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's totally uh, something that it's totally no cost involved. You can just, bring out circles.
Yeah.
I heard that some companies have done a virtual coffee
Yes.
corner. So
Yeah.
those kind of things, you can just, invite people, and whoever wants to share comes in and shares. So that can be one of the things.
Would you
So in this
recommend that a professional facilitate that, or do you think that it can just be, pretty random? I mean, I have my own opinions and concerns about the random.
Ah, exactly. Me too. It can turn into the randomness can turn into a little bit like
Complain
gossiping.
fest? Yeah.
Yeah, could be complaint, could be gossip as well.
Yes.
So having the framework is important.
Yeah.
But if the organization already has a good coaching culture, you can have it a little bit more spontaneous. But not every organization has that, I know. So maybe assigning certain facilitator roles and giving them some guidelines to run the conversation at the bare minimum is something to do. So empowering, and it will be actually empowering people to learn about the coaching skill set and the coaching communication. So
Well, I think
that could be a start.
you bring up a really good point. Having a coaching culture is something that I know a lot of our clients would like to develop.
Mm-hmm.
And to be perfectly frank, it's been something that's been pretty difficult for the majority of people
Sure.
who intend to implement a coaching culture. Most of their initiatives fall short, and a lot of that is because the coaching experience itself requires some much more competency development than I think a lot of, we work with a lot of leaders, and most of them think they're already a coach. They're like, oh, I do that all the time. And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
you get a 360 back, and suddenly you realize,
No,
oh, no, what you're doing is
no,
not coaching. So
exactly.
how might an organization set up that framework? What resource could we point them to maybe set up a framework that would work?
Um, well, obviously, I'm using the digital coaching. That's why I'm going to bring that part, because I also feel one of the main reasons why the organization cannot get a coaching culture is not only because of the leaders.
Yeah.
It's also because the people in the organization, the leader is leading, let's say, have no idea what coaching is.
Right.
So even you train a leader and send them out to do coaching sessions, generally what happens is they start asking questions, and employees are like, why is she asking me these questions now? So they're resistant to the questions. And we, as professional coaches, we know it's very difficult to coach people who are resistant.
Yes.
So it is even harder for leaders to try this new skill out, and they just easily drop it. So I think it's not only on the leaders, it's also for the people to get a feeling of what coaching is. So if at least these group sharing sessions that we've been talking about can be used for people to get a sense of what coaching is, that would help. That's also why we're using the platform when we're training managers. We're giving the platform to their employees as well, and have them have conversations over the platform, because it then gives the employees a sense of like, this is what coaching is. Their main frustration, why doesn't this thing give me some answers, actually happens on the platform. And I kept on hearing this a lot from people who are going through the platform, saying like, oh, I just started with that frustration, but when I was at the end of it, everything fall into a place.
Wow.
So
The
exactly.
framework is built in, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yes, it is. It is. So they kind of get finally the feeling of, so this is it. So while I'm, because once they give answers on one step, we show them back. So everything, really falls into a place at the end. So teaching them how coaching works, all the employees how coaching works, is also one of the key things to have a coaching culture, I believe.
Very, very powerful. Share
Yeah.
with us how the digital coaching program that you guys have put together works, the limitations of that as far as groups and all of that good stuff. And um,
Mhm.
I,
Yeah.
I keep going forever with too many questions. So
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. So it's good. I would say, well, the first things first, digital coaching is not human to human coaching. They are not, none of the other is less than the other. They are just two different devices. So it's the place to start.
yeah,
Just like having, Zoom meetings versus having in the room meetings.
yes,
As different as they both are, the digital coaching is different than having a one-on-one session. It has its minuses. First, it is not spontaneous. You cannot see person's reaction on their face as the coach, because you're just reading what they've written. They could have, edited that, but maybe that's also good. Maybe that
yeah,
also means, on the other hand, on the positive side, that they thought about it. It was not the first reaction. It was the idea. They first wrote something, went back, thought about it. Oh, actually, this is different. So they write something else. So it could be a more deeper thought process behind it as well. So that's the minus is the not spontaneous. The positive is, I have my time to think about it. Uh, the other thing is, I see that technical guys love the digital because they basically love being behind the computer.
yes.
And it's a little bit intimidating to answer questions of another person, but it's easier to write things down. There is the positive that I can do it anywhere I like when it's a digital, but the negative, maybe I'm doing it in another safe space. That's on the coachee to define what is safe for themselves. I know that some people are just doing it when they're stuck in the traffic on their in a public transport or something. For some
Right.
of them, it works, but personally, I would say I would need a silent space for a coaching process. So that's really very much up to the coachee. So those are two different ideas. And one more thing, which I find very important, that I heard this from people giving us feedback, but also research also shows that when people are behind a computer and there is no human when they're just answering a question, it is easier for them to write things that are difficult to say.
It's
So it just
easier what to write things than
write
they.
things, because
Yeah,
then there is no feeling of, is this stupid? Will
yeah,
I be judged? So they just have the word out there. The research is done on a very similar platform that is doing therapy, actually. And what they found out was also people were able to share their suicidal thoughts, their depression, their main issues, like I was raped or something like that, much more easier on a platform. So I also feel like this is on a therapy platform. Of course, those issues don't come to us. But in our case, also, I've heard people say, like, it was easier to say, like, for instance, I have this dream, those kind of things. Like,
yeah.
will I be judged is no more there. So those kind of things help. What we're doing on the platform, if you can just come back for this program only, I would also say one little thing is, as I said, the one level is sharing with the others, like-minded people, getting it out your chest. But the other is, once it's out there, normalizing stuff, and then, okay, so the worst happens. So I need to just sit down and, look things from a different distance and redefine everything. So that's why the platform is working now. And then there is the final group coaching, because I believe you need to have somebody else, a real person, to share your experience, whatever you've gone through personally. That's also the difference between the digital and the face-to-face. Digital is there for you to write things down, collect your thoughts, but it doesn't give you positive feedback.
Right.
Uh, Even though you've done great work, somebody else has to look and say, wow, you've done great.
Yes.
Or like, okay, so you look like you're stuck here. Okay, let me help you. So that's when the human element comes. So that's why there is a final call, group coaching, that we're going to do in this program.
Excellent.
And we can, bring it to more people, I believe.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, what you guys have developed is really something that is unique, that is scalable at a time when it's really more needed now than ever.
Oh, yeah.
And yet it's not like it's off the shelf. Hey, let's talk about our future. You want to lose weight? You want to,
Exactly.
climb a
No,
mountain? We're talking about how are you going to survive and how can we support you in feeling engaged with us collectively while you're still in pursuit of your business interests, your business
exactly.
pursuits, your career, your life, your goals. And the bottom line is that in this world of so much complexity and so much on our plates, that a digital methodology actually gives us the means to do that, is what I'm taking away.
Yes, exactly. And there is one question, I think, on the chat box. Would you suggest presenting this program to those who tend to push back against technology? Good question.
I've lost my question box.
I just saw it. Yeah, there is. So yeah, the question is, would we suggest this program to those who tend to push back against technology?
Yeah.
I would say, well, the real the people who really need this would find this. That's one of my starting points. I wouldn't. I mean, as any coaching process, I wouldn't push it to anybody who's against it. Because I mean, we just know that it just starts with that feeling that, oh, I can do this. But what generally happens is when we give the platform to people, it gives them. I mean, is there resistance to technology, or is there resistance to coaching in general? We don't know at the very beginning. So when we give the platform, some of the people actually get involved with the coaching process, because they're otherwise thinking coaching is just talk. It's just
that's right.
something soft and so. So once they see the steps they're going to do, then they see the process, then they can be like, oh, okay, so this looks like something that I already know. So they can go there. But if they're totally against something, doing digital, anything digital, then I wouldn't push them.
Yeah.
So it's just, saying them that this is an opportunity. If you want to
Well,
enjoy.
I think it's here's what's available. Here's what we're doing in order to support you and our employees and our retained leaders. And this is not a requirement. And an appropriate kickoff call, as with any initiative that is about, we're here to support you. I've designed this program, give it a chance. If it's not for you, no worries, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I know that we are coming up on our last few minutes. I want to share with folks what Özlem and I have put together around outplacement coaching and around retained leaders, and the program that she was mentioning earlier. We have a name your own price methodology. And I've spoken about this already, but I know that for the majority of us, if it's free, it's not valuable. And yet the coaches that are participating in this are highly professional, certified, many years of experience, many of whom have advanced degrees, many of whom have somewhere between 2,000 and 10,000 coaching hours under their belt, that we're bringing as experts to the process of either a retained leaders empowerment program or an outplacement coaching program. If you're interested in learning more, if you think this would be a good fit for now or in the short-term future, don't hesitate to head on over to turnkeycoachingsolutions.net/NYOP, which stands for Name Your Own Price Outplacement. And we'll be happy to give you a little bit of more of the details on that You know, the entire purpose of this conversation is to support you and your employees in getting through this crisis. And if a digital combined with high touch, we're calling it high tech meets high touch,
Yeah.
support is useful, then we'll be happy to support you in that way. Head on back over to the Leading in a Crisis, actionable strategies for business and HR strategies for navigating crisis and change. And don't hesitate to check out our other speakers. Aslam, thank you so much for being with us today. This was, had a lot more questions, but I think we covered a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, I think it got richer with your questions and
Oh,
gave me the potential to share what I was thinking in other places as well. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so glad. Stay safe, stay healthy, and
Yes,
we'll do it
you
again.
too. Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for
Okay.
joining
Thank
us.
you. Thank you for joining. Bye.